Lake Champlain is located between New York's Adirondack Mountains and the Green Mountains of Vermont. It also reaches into Quebec for a few miles. It's a huge body of water. Lake Champlain is 12 miles wide and 120 miles long, with a depth of 400 feet. It's the fourth largest lake in the United States. Being such a ginormous lake, it's the perfect habitat for a lake monster. Up to just a few years ago, the total individual people that claim to have seen Champ number around 600. It's the most famous lake monster in the United States. Encounters with Champ go back for centuries. Documentation can be found written in stone in several different areas of Lake Champlain. Dr. Gerard Leduc, an archaeologist, unearthed petroglyphs of a snake or dragon-like creature in Frauleisberg, Quebec. Similar petroglyphs have also been found in Vermont. Also, in close proximity to the town of Brattleboro, Vermont, petroglyphs of several different critters, including one that depicts Champ, have been etched in rock by a primeval civilization. So it's written in stone, so to speak. Local Native American tribes have folklore and tales of a serpentine beast existing and thriving in the inland sea. The Iroquois have told the story for many years of a horned serpent hidden in the frigid waters. The Abenaki tribe have a name for the beast, Taitoskak. In the 17th century, French explorers employed Abenaki guides to plot a course through the lake. The Abenaki alerted the French of a lake monster and urged them not to make needless noises or toss things in the water for no reason. That's a good rule of thumb, even without a lake monster. Samuel de Champlain, a French explorer who founded Quebec in 1608 and is the namesake of Lake Champlain, is the first European credited with spotting Champ in 1609. Champlain said he saw a 20-foot serpent as thick as a barrel and a head like a horse. That's a pretty big fucking snake. During the 1800s, it was a time of growth and expansion in the Lake Champlain area, and collectively as a country. With the progress that was made with railroads and waterways, people started migrating westward. When more folks moved into the area surrounding the lake, as logic would have it, the sightings ramped up. There were so many sightings in the 1870s that Champ was fast becoming a cryptid superstar. So much so, P.T. Barnum, the legendary showman, offered a $50,000 reward for the body of the monster. That's the equivalent of $1,132,000 today, adjusted for inflation. Barnum wanted to feature the carcass of Champ in his World's Fair show exhibit, like a freak show. Sightings of the lake monster did not stop in the 1900s. In fact, they surged. Several boat owners reported seeing Champ swimming beside their boat on many different occasions. July 1819. Captain Crum was walking to his dock slip where he had a small flat-bottomed boat that he always took out on Bulwaga Bay. On his way to the dock, he heard a loud splash out in the water. All he saw was the wake of something big. He quickly jumped into his boat and pushed off. He got there as quickly as he could. Well, without the help of a motor. As he approached the area of the splash, he heard something break out of the water ahead of him. He stopped rowing and surveyed the water. He was shocked to see a black monster about 187 feet long and with a head like that of a seahorse. It rose more than 15 feet out of the water. He said the beast had 3 teeth, eyes the color of a peeled onion, a white star on its forehead, and a belt of red around the neck. This is an incredible level of detail for someone if they were just making shit up. The monster let out a whale-like sound, spun around, and started swimming away. He positioned the boat to follow the creature. After several minutes of tiresome paddling, he finally got to within a few yards of it, but it ducked underwater and disappeared. July 1870. Steve and Pam decided to take a small steamship excursion on Lake Champlain. It was an overnight cruise that they had been looking forward to for years. They arrived early, but there were lots of other people eager to go also. After waiting in line for about 2 hours, that was pretty typical for that time period, they boarded the steamboat. It was very crowded and extremely difficult to move around. The boat rocked slightly, and they could tell they had pushed away from the dock. After playing several games and several drinks, Steve and Pam decided to go outside to the bow of the boat and relax on the deck. As they were gazing out at the stars near Charlotte, Vermont, Steve saw something out of the corner of his eye. He snapped his head in that direction. Pam said, "What is it?" "I saw something moving in the water over there." He pointed. Suddenly, Pam exclaimed, "There! Yeah, I see it! Oh my God! What is that?" Other passengers noticed them pointing and also looked in that direction. They all observed it nearly at the same time. They saw a mysterious-looking, large creature floating in the lake. Panic started setting in. The captain was forced to cut the trip short, turn the boat around, and go back to dock. "Screw that! I'd want to go towards it." After disembarking, everybody gave their statements to law enforcement. After cross-referencing all the statements, they realized they all had one thing in common. Every one of them had the exact same description of what they saw. August 1871. Rudolph and Jules were aboard the steamship Curlew for their 20th wedding anniversary. While relaxing in a chair on the deck and having an adult beverage, they both spotted something moving in the water off to the side. They couldn't tell what it was, but it was creating a wake. They stood up to get a better look. It seemed to be getting closer. For some reason, the Curlew started slowing. The captain must have hit cruise. They continued watching whatever it was. Rudolph said, "That thing is moving at railway speed." Jules, with her mouth open, nodded. After a short while, they detected a massive turmoil in the water near the boat. Suddenly, it surfaced about 30 feet from the boat. They said it was black or a dark green and very slimy looking. It had a long neck and a small head. It watched their boat go by, then ducked underwater. March 1873. John was part of a railroad crew. He and his crew were in charge of patching up a section of the railway that had been down for 2 months, beside Lake Champlain. John and his crew got right to work on it. During lunch, John noticed how calm the water was on the lake. It was beautiful. As he was about to finish up and go back to work, he saw something he couldn't believe. He identified the head of an enormous serpent in Lake Champlain. He called for his crew. "Hey fellas, come over here and look at this." They all gathered around. Their eyes widened and their bodies shook. They said it undulated in the water like a giant snake with bright silvery scales that glistened in the sun. Both the men and the monster quickly parted ways at that point. Well, now we know why it's been taking so long to get that part of the railway fixed. May 1873. Clinton County Sheriff Nathan H. Mooney was coming home from work one evening, riding along the shore of Lake Champlain, when all of a sudden he heard a loud splash not far offshore. He stopped and surveyed the area. After a few seconds, he saw something he'll never forget. He said, "I'm not crazy, okay? I saw what looked like an enormous snake or water serpent. It was about 50 yards from here. It had to be at least 25 to 35 feet long. It was so close I could see round white spots in its mouth. It was just swimming along in the lake without a care in the world." Mooney's sighting led to several other eyewitnesses coming forward with their own accounts of Champ sightings. I guess they were afraid everyone would think they're crazy. July 1873. Barbara and Edward were having a great time aboard the W.B. Eddy, a small steamboat. They were chugging along near Dresden, New York, when, out of nowhere, the boat suddenly jolted and listed hard to one side. Barbara started sliding across the wet deck. Edward grabbed her hand as she nearly slid past him. He pulled her up and onto the deck. As she was about to climb over the railing, Edward noticed something swimming in the water below her. Something large. In his stunned stupor, he nearly dropped Barbara. Barbara saw he was looking at something in the water and turned around to look. She saw what looked like a giant tail of something whoosh by. He hoisted her over the rail. They looked out into the water in the direction it was swimming and saw the head of a large snake about 100 feet from the boat emerge from the dark lake. The strange creature quickly swam away and disappeared once more into the depths of Lake Champlain. So far, all of these stories have taken place 50 years before anyone has ever heard of the Loch Ness Monster. Just saying. May 1945. A group of people aboard the SS Ticonderoga, another steam-powered passenger boat, claimed to have seen Champ floating in the middle of the lake with very similar descriptions. I think Champ likes steamboats. August 1977. Sandra Mancy and her family were on vacation at Lake Champlain. While looking out over the lake, she noticed something that looked out of place. She grabbed her camera and quickly took a photograph. It appears to show a plesiosaur-like body and neck sticking out of the lake. Mancy later showed the photo to experts who have studied it thoroughly. They could not find any evidence to suggest that it is not legitimate. And that's a pretty cool pic there. July 1984. Jack and Patricia were out sightseeing on a boat called the Spirit of Ethan Allen in Lake Champlain. It was a pretty packed house with between 70 to 86 passengers aboard. Everyone was having a fantastic time. After several stops along the way, they had one more stop before heading back to dock. It was around 6 o'clock in the evening. As they got near Apple Tree Point, they saw something off in the shadows of the water. Several other passengers started shouting, "Look! Look!" as they pointed down into the water. Jack and Patricia then saw it. It looked like everyone on the boat saw it. It was a creature approximately 30 feet long. It was a green-brown color and had a slimy-looking texture, like a frog. 3 to 5 humps surfaced, each about 12 inches out of the water. It swam parallel with the boat for at least 1,000 yards. Aw, it loved them. Jack and Patricia noticed a speedboat coming towards them in the opposite direction in the river. They started waving their arms wildly to alert the boater. The boater didn't see them and kept his course. The creature then turned 90 degrees and submerged. Champ was clearly visible to the entire boatload of passengers for nearly 3 minutes. It was the largest mass Champ sighting in history, with over 70 passengers reporting near identical descriptions of the monster. In my opinion, mass sightings are the most credible. When you have that many complete strangers telling the same story, it's hard not to believe it. June 1985. Dennis Hall was getting into the canoe with his daughter, son, and father-in-law when his daughter witnessed a creature about a mile away. "Dad, there's something out there." She pointed to a small figure way out in the water. Thinking it might be someone in distress, Dennis pushed off and paddled in the direction his daughter was pointing. He got to about 100 yards away and realized it wasn't a person at all. He pulled out his video camera and started filming. Due to filming while in a canoe, parts of the video are jumbled and bounce around a lot. Even though it's not exceedingly clear, the tape does show an object pointing out from the lake and moving across the surface. Dennis was ecstatic about his capture. He was so convinced he had captured Champ on film that he had the film copyrighted. Damn! Move the lawyers in, why don't you? On the videotape, the object appears to have 2 sections, and at the end of the tape, it appears to dive into the water with a large splash. The object does appear to be alive. According to Dennis, after the animal disappeared from view, he chased after it. When he arrived where he saw the creature disappear, it was gone. He stated, "There were no boats. The water was calm. There was nothing out there." Still shots of the videotape shown in sequence confirm that an object is moving and its shape is changing in a snake-like motion as it moves. The photographs provided some overwhelming detail. May 2003. One piece of evidence that's closer to an audio sighting per se is the recording of echolocation from within the lake. The Fauna Communications Research Institute, working in collaboration with the Discovery Channel on one of their shows, recorded sounds in the lake that they said are similar to that of a beluga whale, or perhaps an orca, but not of a known animal. No dolphin or whale species have been known to live in Lake Champlain. Mammals are the only animals capable of echolocation, and the only freshwater mammals known to echolocate are freshwater dolphins, porpoises, and beluga whales. The echolocation itself was recorded in 3 completely different areas of Lake Champlain, including a man-made navigation channel in the deepest part of the lake. Analysis conducted by the scientists who recorded the sound suggests the creature has an extremely advanced brain, which means it may not be a plesiosaur. July 2005. Dick and his stepson Pete went fishing one morning out on Lake Champlain. After several hours and not even a bite, they were about to give up and head back to shore. While Dick was packing his tackle box, Pete pointed, "What's that?" Dick stopped fiddling with his lures and looked. Astonished, he quickly fumbled with his camera, nearly dropping it in the lake, and started filming. In a shaky picture, you can see what looks like a head and neck of a plesiosaur-like animal looking around the lake. If you go frame by frame, you can see an open mouth in one frame and a closed mouth in another. It was clearly a living creature. 2 retired FBI forensic image analysts who reviewed the tape both independently said it appears authentic and unmanipulated. The evidence is starting to pile up. If Champ exists, and encounters seem to have been happening for centuries, there has to be a small breeding population in Lake Champlain or somewhere nearby. This is precisely what the evidence points to. Baby champs have been spotted on the lake on many different occasions. In 1945, a man trapped a 14-inch serpent believed to be a baby champ. Button Bay, Vermont, a frequent place for champ sightings, has also had a few sightings of juvenile champs. In 1993, an incredible experience happened when 2 women who were swimming in the lake claimed that a baby champ swam between them. Oh man, that would be a fucking trip. Joseph W. Zarzinski, director of the Lake Champlain Phenomena Investigation, has been studying Champ for 11 years. He is convinced that there is some kind of large creature living in Lake Champlain. But anyone who believes in Champ should know there is more than one Champ in the lake. As Zarzinski puts it himself, "We are talking about the animals in the plural. I think we're dealing with 10 or 15 of them. A breeding colony." Logically speaking, that makes sense. According to Zarzinski, Champ, going by past descriptions, must be a species of plesiosaur, the same as the Loch Ness Monster. Zarzinski admits there are probably many sightings that are nothing but logs or scuba divers. However, some people are definitely seeing something out of the ordinary. "We do have America's Loch Ness in our backyard." The actual reality of Champ at Lake Champlain is far more than what the general public realizes. In 1981, Port Henry, New York, declares their waters a safe haven for Champ. In 1982, the state of Vermont passes a House resolution protecting Champ. And 1983, in New York, both the State Assembly and the State Senate pass resolutions protecting Champ. If Champ is simply a legend, folklore, or old wives' tale, why is the government recognizing it and protecting it? Is Champ real? Or are the multitude of sightings with very similar descriptions just a coincidence? How much more of a reality can you make out of an imaginary mythical beast? Undeniably, very little more evidence is needed. As more tests and more explorations are made in the well-known home of Champ, the evidence will only continue to grow until, to the horror and shock of many, Champ will be added to the constantly expanding list of our modern animal kingdom. Just wait for it.